this out. Did you watch Willie's post-game conference?
I did not, actually.
You don't want to.
I actually have a note on Florida State and why I think this is a good move for them. What they did.
I mean,
well, I'm pretty sure we're live. It was a little spoiler.
I'm just making sure the sound's good.
Welcome to Tyler's Corner. Andrew was not here.
No, get hyped like you were last.
I don't want
hyped like you were before. Don't be embarrassed.
It was Miami, Florida State. We kicked the tail off of them. So much so they had to fire their head coach.
Whoa.
In all honesty, I think we've done you a good service, Florida State, because I have a little bit I had to say if you didn't catch me saying that before. But I actually think this was a good move. You paid a lot of money. Technically, you didn't pay it either.
Whoa! You're getting too far ahead. You're getting too far. He's getting excited, folks.
It was
sorry about all the excitement right off the bat.
Technically, you guys did pay it anyway.
Welcome to Tyler's Corner. As he said, I'm sorry I missed, but
yeah,
we're gonna start this off with a clip.
Yeah.
So that Tyler can get his
my fandom in
whatever his mojo that he's building.
Although they do have that one timeout left. Rozier going to take a shot, and it is caught into the end zone. Touchdown, Miami! Darrell Langham with the grab. Canes in front. 6 seconds left. There is a penalty marker down at the 2-yard line. Motion all around. Blitz off the edge. Francois doesn't see it. The ball's out. Is the turnover chain going to make an appearance? Sheldrick Redwine came on the blitz. Down going for it on 4th down. Another lob for Cager. Does he have it this time? A wrestling match for the football. And Cager wins it for a Miami touchdown. Middle screen, and it's intercepted. Michael Pinckney. N'Kosi Perry. Lobbing one for the end zone. Jeff Thomas. Touchdown. Perry. Deep shot up the seam. Climbing the ladder. Jeff Thomas between 2 defenders. He's got it. What a great throw. He wants another deep shot. Drops it in. At the goal line. That's a Canes touchdown. Brevin Jordan, the tight end, got deep. Play action. Williams, well protected. He's going to take a shot for Jeff Thomas. Drops it in. That's a Canes touchdown. Blitz coming. Hornibrook avoids a sack. Can't get away, though. Eventually, the pocket collapses. Blitz picked up. Long throw. Harley along the sideline. He's got it. Another deep shot for Jaron Williams. E.J. Dallas at the goal line. He's in for a Miami touchdown. There is the blitz. It's picked up again. Williams, long throw to the sideline. A.J. Osborne, he's got it. trust their kicking game. And Williams to the sideline makes the Noles pay.
Or an outbreaking route to take advantage of leverage.
Hornibrook in trouble, and he goes down. Great field position again for UM. Play action for Williams, looking downfield. He wants to take another shot. In stride. D. Wiggins. Touchdown. He's going to throw. And he will not get another one off. They'll do just that. Conservative to DJ Dallas. He still gets outside and picks up the first down. It was coming, and you couldn't get it stopped. Williams rifles one over the middle to Jeff Thomas.
You have an offensive line that isn't good. It exposes your flaws. The flaws of a run game. Or
here it is again.
It exposes the flaws.
4th and 1. Obviously, the Noles will go for it. Blackman's going to hoist one up for DJ Matthews, and there's going to be an easy interception for Gervin Hall. Hall gets a block. And he is into plus territory and brought down. So the Canes will win the rivalry game. And a big smile on the face of Jarren Williams.
Wow.
Man, it's Miami, Florida State, and we actually beat the crap out of them. On defense, for sure.
Yeah.
I can't do this with you. You're not going to agree with me at all.
No, I'm not. I'm not going to let
as
you
a
have
Miami
this.
fan, we beat the crap out of them in a game that typically has no exciting factor in the terms of it swings one way. Even when Florida State was on their national championship run, it was like Miami game was still close. The Miami-Florida State game was. But this one, for some reason, because I even said I expect this one to be close. I expect this one to be a hard-fought battle. It come down to the wire again, but if it wasn't for their gimmicky offense in the third quarter, I'm pretty sure we would have not even allowed a touchdown. So, as you can tell, Miami wins 27-10.
Okay, first of all, this is the worst FSU team I've ever seen in my entire life.
That's got to be true. I think that your news Sunday reflects that. But, yeah. This is without a doubt I think they're 100% a worse offensive line than Miami. I don't think Miami's offensive line woes are as bad as they used to be. And I have some numbers to back it up later.
Of course.
But Miami may not be good in one-on-one matchups with D linemen or whatever, but they're picking up blitzes really well, which they did not do against Florida, in which they did not do against North Carolina. Virginia Tech did the same thing, and that's why those 3 games are the ones that stand out numbers-wise, because Central Michigan just flat-out beat us. They didn't blitz. Central Michigan's line was just better, and they had sacks to show for it. But
the only thing I'm going to say is that, like I was saying before, FSU is a trash team this season.
Yeah.
So obviously Miami was going to win. Mm-hmm. You know,
it was not obvious.
We could say that it was not obvious, but it was obvious.
In the game, yes.
Watching the Pittsburgh game, as long as Miami showed up the same way they did against Pittsburgh, Miami was going to win against FSU. Now,
I told you
we saw some different things in this game from Jarren that we've seen all season.
I told you Friday, as people that watched this on Friday.
Yeah, if you didn't watch, shame on you.
I told you that this game was going to break stats in terms of what the norms were. It was going to break tendencies. It was going to break schemes.
It was going to break Bubba Bolden.
It was going to break the norms of what you thought of these teams. And it did in both cases, I think, because you had Florida State who came into the game running for almost 120 yards a game with one player, Cam Akers. And in this game, he didn't do any of that. Miami, we had Jarren Williams who, before he even got hurt, had shown that he could not throw the deep ball at all. Or could he have time? Apparently, though, they said the injury for Jarren lingered from Florida, that he got injured in the Florida game.
Nope.
He got sacked 10 times in Florida. I don't rule that out of the question. But at the end of the day, he still did well enough in those games where I don't think that's necessarily true. I think I'm kind of over.
I mean, I
the
believe
fact.
it. I believe it. He couldn't throw the deep ball.
Yeah, and like that may because he looks
And it may have
perfectly
been
fine. That's
he could have
for
been
sure.
scared to throw it because he didn't want to get hurt.
I mean, he threw.
But
2
look at this game.
bombs. Like
We obviously get Jeff Thomas back, which I'm a big Jeff Thomas fan. I wasn't, the Gator game, which I'm still not a Miami fan,
yeah,
mind you.
unfortunately,
Unfortunately.
nobody
Now,
agrees with
but
me.
watching the games, Jeff Thomas, you did terrible Florida, but he's proven himself.
True.
And Jeff Thomas this game with the Jaron Williams, clutch.
Yeah, it was.
We also got DJ Dallas back.
Yeah, unfortunately he didn't really run the ball very well, and I think that's one of the.
He did like his season average, though.
Yeah, I think that's one of the main problems in Miami right now is, and I think that goes back to scheme, but I'm not trying to talk about that as much. But it's like at the end of the day, we're just not gonna be able to run the football well. We haven't all season. We've been better at pass blocking throughout the season, and that's opened up. I think it's a combination of Jaron probably being 100% if that rumor is true, where he has been hurt since Florida.
Right.
And you get that part back 1,000%,
Yeah.
and then the offensive line is just you could just watch, and they have gotten better. They only
Like what I was saying before, the O-line bought Jaron so much time. So let's say all the variables. Jaron's better. Okay. Now Jaron has more time. Now you got Jeff Thomas back. Now you got DJ back to block if he needs to. Perfect scenario.
and you get basically the game that we had Saturday. I mean, bar probably a little bit Miami Florida State-ness, if you understand what I'm saying. That this game was just going to be wacky in the terms that these teams are going to play better than what they should. Florida State's defense is not great. I said that.
I actually think Florida State played worse than they have been.
That could be true, but it's all like you're going to have those plays that I would just chalk up to be in this game for Miami's offense because we had 2 deep bombs. We had a good run by DJ that was set up through a couple of not fancy, but just incredible throws by Jaron, which we hadn't even seen those throws all season, which you've watched the video. Like, those are corner routes. Like we're running bench concepts, and he's actually hitting the corner routes. We're running out breaking routes, and he actually is hitting them. Like, those are N'Kosi Perry throws where that's all arm strength. And then that's what I'm saying, like, it almost makes me believe that rumor if he was hurt, because after Florida, like, our offense was not horizontal. It was not vertical. It was like easy
Nothing.
throws over the middle that didn't involve arm strength. But
Yeah.
for some reason in this game, it either could be because it's Florida State, or it's just the fact that this is 100% Jaron. And I mean, I guess you just personal belief as to what you decide to believe. Or
I'm cool with
personal
that.
opinion,
I'm cool with.
because you're cool with what exactly?
Well, I'm not cool with hearing strange noises, but sorry. I'm cool with believing that Jaron was hurt. I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah.
That was the strange noise, folks. Sometimes when you're doing a live podcast in an open studio, you have people that come in and continue to talk to you while the live is going on. Goodbye. Okay, sorry about that.
Yeah. What were we talking about?
I locked that door, by the way.
Did you really? Oh,
Yeah.
you probably has the key.
Okay.
So
Yeah, I believe that Jaron was hurt. Yeah, I can get down with that. But
It's-
why wait until now to say it?
Yeah. And I think
You know, I know how
were-
Manny Diaz is. We're not trying to reveal our secrets and our culture. Okay. All right. Yeah. Jaron finished the day 21 for 37, 313 yards, and 2 touchdowns, no interceptions.
Yeah, I mean, he should have had one picked, but they dropped it. But
That was a different story for FSU.
yeah, they 21 for 37 is not great. I think it's like 58, roughly 59% on the day, which looks no better than Kosi. But if you watch the game, you know exactly like what was happening. That I think Miami, once they found out they could just bomb it down to Jeff, and that those routes were open in the middle of the second quarter, that they were like, that was like their offense. They were like, okay, we're switching to this. We're calling more of these aggressive plays.
Yeah.
And Jaren was literally just holding it too long.
So you think Dan gets the credit for that?
I mean, he's got to at this point. I mean,
Here we go.
I've got it at the
Here
end.
we go.
I've got it at the end of what I really think, but it translates really well into Jaren's strengths at this point. It's like what has happened, because it's like, if you think about it that way, it's like, why hasn't this been this way all season? It's like that rumor's got to be true, or else this offensive coordinating staff or offensive staff is just completely inept. Like, would you think so?
Yeah. So I mean, like,
you don't want to pull this out in Florida. You don't want to pull this out in North Carolina. You know, like,
I did hear that Enos was saving stuff for FSU.
I mean, you always save
pulled
stuff
out-
for FSU,
They pulled out all the stops this game.
but there's literally nothing else to
Which
play
shows.
for after this game. So why is this the offense now?
But
Are you just not figuring this out, or is this rumor true?
I think, and I could be completely wrong, but I think, well, I would hope we're getting a taste of next year.
Yeah,
That maybe last week I was right that Enos is recruiting linemen, is recruiting, and he plans to take Miami there, but he just knows that he can't hit it
I
yet.
don't know if he's taking the fan base with him.
Well, the fan
mean-
base hates everybody.
I mean, that part is true, but look at the turnaround that Blake Baker as a mindset to fans has made since. And
That's because of Manny Diaz.
it gets fishy. Yeah,
That's Manny Diaz all
sure.
day. That's not.
But
Blake Baker's just a face with a
just
voice.
to get off the quarterback stuff, because I really want to talk about this in detail later. But DJ Dallas comes back from injury. Barring his actual stats, I think he could not have played a better game unless he broke 8 tackles a run.
Well, DJ's always
because-
key.
Yeah, but it's like he ran the ball well. He caught the ball well out of the backfield.
Beautiful
and,
screen.
And he blocked better than I've seen any Marv lineman had blocked, in the first half of the season
Yeah.
so
especially
far. The first half of
Zion.
the games we've played this season, especially Zion.
Zion gets a 10 out of 10.
I think
from me.
Zion gets a bad rap because he's a left tackle, and he often is left in the one-on-ones. And that just, when you watch film, it bodes bad as a left tackle when you are left in your one-on-ones, and it's literally, as it suggests, you are one-on-one. And if you are a freshman, you're typically going to get beat. And he did, and he does continue to. But I
didn't
think
get
through
beat.
some fancy footwork with Dane Enos in the pass protection, especially how good DJ Dallas is at pass protection, that could be a calling card for him in the NFL that states this guy does everything well. He is a 3-down back, pure and simple. He does not need to come out on third down. If it's third down and long and he got to pass, you need somebody that could just block. DJ Dallas doesn't have to come off the field. It's like, well, that works in the NFL. Look at what it's doing right now in college football. Like, we literally had clean pockets for big throws to swing this game into our favor because of DJ Dallas, combined with how good he is at blitz pickup with the rest of the offensive line. And while he did not run the ball well, they only had like 5 tackles for loss. But you compare that to us, we had 16 tackles for loss. And it's like 5 tackles for loss ain't really that much for any team, really, no matter the stature. And it's just, he was getting hit right as he was crossing the goal line or crossing the line of scrimmage. And Dallas is literally just that good, where he is able to pick his spot and make sure he gets back to the line of scrimmage and not gets hit behind. And but yeah, I mean, I don't think we could have had a better player on that. If we played Cam Harris, maybe we get sacked a little more because Florida State was bringing exotic stuff that they had not shown the whole
We
season.
had Cam for 2, and he lost 5 yards.
Yeah, in terms of like pass, if Dallas
No,
had
I
still
know.
been hurt
Yeah.
and not played this game, he showed at Pitt that one of those sacks is very clearly his fault. He does not help Zion and chip the the defensive end, and the defensive end is a senior, more experienced than Zion. It just gets around and sacks.
Maybe he's
Kosi.
just not a team player
And
like DJ is.
I don't know. I think Dallas is just. I think I keep saying this, but it's like if we don't realize who he is as a player, if he decides to leave after his junior season, which is this season, Miami fans could be really regretting the fact that we did not fully respect the player that he is and what he means to the team, because he did excellent work as one of the more important people on the offense Saturday. So, I mean, in terms of everything else, I mean,
Yeah, O-line was great.
Brevin and Jeff are Brevin and Jeff that we've known that from last season that are now transitioning into this offense. I think it was a little rough for both of them.
Yeah.
You seen Brevin catch the ball out in the flats and actually be able to use his ability. Jeff Thomas got to use his speed, and that was just pure stupidity on Florida State's part that they let him do that over and over and over again.
Yeah, and then the one where Jeff catches for the touchdown.
Yeah.
I think it's the safety or whatever. He's just like,
Oh no, that's D Wiggins. But that was what I was going to
was
say.
that D. Wiggins?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I was going to say that next is Mark Pope and D Wiggins are showing that these are the incoming guys that you can be excited about.
Yeah.
That is not just Jeff and KJ. That there are people behind them that are completely capable of carrying this team and carrying the workload. After KJ is definitely gone because he's a senior,
yeah,
and KJ is very sure hands. That these two are really showing that they can make plays with the football, and that we actually know how to get them the football.
yeah. I mean,
Because,
KJ was second to last
mean,
this game.
Yeah,
He only had 3 for 21. So, I mean, you got Jeff Thomas, 84 yards, 4 catches. Wiggins, 4 catches, 74 yards. Which Wiggins usually gets a play or two each game here lately that like shows his potential.
They say D Wiggins is the fastest player on Miami in a straight line.
Oh, really?
Like in a 100-yard sprint, they say D Wiggins has the top speed, but it just seems like it takes him forever to get there. But that play that he scores, that is just a pure bust. Like that's not like like Jeff's route was really, really good because he's lined up single, like man-on-man coverage, and that's stupid to do to Jeff Thomas. But he literally runs a post route and just boom, like he's that quick, and it's one-on-one, and Jeff is going to beat him 99% of the time. But D Wiggins is like a cover 3, so you're supposed to have the safety over the middle, and that post is supposed to be, you're running right at that guy. But for some reason, he drops it here, and it's nobody there because you're supposed to stay out here as a corner.
Yep.
In the middle of the field is that guy's. And that's why you see number 8 throwing his hands up because he's like, that wasn't even me. Like, I'm supposed to be back here where you're looking because for some reason you're way down there, and I'm back here. But, like, it's just –
That was a beautiful pass, though.
yeah. And it really just shows, like, how good those two are. They're getting better at route running. Pope is really good after the catch. I mean, Pope is a 5-star receiver, or Noodles, as they call him, because he's so skinny. But he's a maniac on the offense, and they really show that there's something to be excited about. Should Jeff come back, like that receiving core next year could be disgusting. So especially with Brevin and Will Mallory definitely having to come back too, because there's only a sophomore year. Do I have anything else in terms of offense?
Not really,
I think. Oh, that's right. Dan Enos' play calling was actually good. It was.
He got quite a few compliments from the
It was
sportscasters
not
as well.
bad. I really liked the game. If you watch the whole game, I would actually recommend you watch it because Andrew still hasn't seen like the whole game because he was still busy during that game too.
Yeah.
Dan Orlovsky calls the game, and he's been on a quarterback in the NFL for like 9 years. Was a backup, and he is like on part of the Get Up. If you watch on ESPN, it's like from 9 I think to 11,
Yeah.
or something like that, and or from 8 to 9 or 8 to 10. And anyway, he is like very football savvy. And last season he called Miami's offense archaic and outdated. It said it belonged with the dinosaurs, which he called the bowl game, which was awful. But he called this game, and it's really refreshing to see. Like he's like Miami shouldn't have done that, but you got to give credit what they've done the whole game. It's stuff like that where it's like you're not going to call good plays all the time.
Right.
And I think he did good. I still don't agree with the scheme, but for what he's got in terms of his arsenal, I don't think we really could have done much better. There were still some choppy plays where I don't like that call. It's just like, you call zone breakers and they're playing man. You're playing zone breaker offense and they're playing man breaker offense and they're playing zone. Like they catch you off guard, but it was like when the deep plays happen, like we're trying to break their zones and they're running zone in the exact zone that we're wanting them to do, and was really good. I gave it a B+. I don't think it was an A performance. That is a lot for me.
That's
at
new.
least. But it definitely wasn't an A, because an A would, because there was a ton of more points that we probably could have put on the board. considering we kicked 3
Yeah.
field goals. So that would have bumped it up to an A for sure if we made one of those a touchdown, which one of them was Jaren's fault because he kind of overthrows D. Wiggins and as he's rolling out of the pocket. So
As far as FSU's defense,
they played the soft zone crap for a while that I
Yeah.
told you they were going to do, and then we were
wasn't good.
beating them with that underneath, and then they came up close, and we were just bombing them down the field. It was like they couldn't really get a rhythm going on defense.
I think they got 2 sacks, and as much as they blitzed,
Yeah, like they blitzed a lot, and I said they don't blitz a lot as a team, and I said expect them to blitz a lot because this game does break tendencies and makes you do things you don't normally do,
yeah.
and they blitzed a lot.
But it was nice because it was like Jaren had all day.
Yeah, but Marvin Wilson is apparently like a first-round talent, and he was unnoticeable. I don't think I even knew he was in the game half the time. I mean, you talk about Miami's, you compare that to Miami's Greg Rousseau, and we'll get into that later. But look at what Greg Rousseau and the prowess that he's got, and then they're saying, "Oh, Marvin Wilson's better." If you watch the game, Marvin Wilson only had like 3 tackles, and it's like, well, your main guy on defense isn't doing anything. And now, he's not getting pass rush. He's not adding to your team at all, much like everybody else was on the defense. So it was a rough day for them at the office. The fact that they were doing so poorly on offense to transition into
Did you say
just
rough
bad
day at the office?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So
Interesting.
it
So I will give FSU's defense an F-. I'm
I think
kidding.
they
No, they got a
did.
C. They get a C.
no, it's like a D.
No,
Like,
it's a low C. Low C.
it gets a D plus.
It's passing.
because they got a fumble recovery, but
It's
they
passing.
weren't.
That wasn't too interesting though.
That wasn't good.
So let's move on to Miami's defense. And Tyler's first line in our notes is, "Man, we killed them."
Yeah.
In all caps.
Well, that was partially the reason that their their defense was so bad, is that Miami's defense was killing their offense.
We had a few missed tackles here and there.
Yeah, like it wasn't a perfect
was the
game.
same.
You're never gonna have a perfect game,
Yeah.
but we were killing them.
And also,
Like-
I didn't mention is there were a lot of penalties, which is normal for a rivalry game because it's whatever.
But none of them were really because of
yeah,
the
yeah.
chirpiness or
FSU
like the
had,
hits after. Like none of that.
FSU had some bad.
FSU, I think, in the first quarter had 7 penalties.
Yeah,
If I remember
it hurt them
correctly.
pretty bad.
And, Miami had 9, technically 10 sacks. We'll talk about that later. And 16 tackles for loss. Like, that's an incredible game with Cam Akers, who I think had negative 15 yards on the day in terms of his he had gained 80 and was minus 15. It put him at like 66 total yards throughout the day.
Yeah.
And it's like that's not even like that's a little over half of what your normal yardage is in a game. And I was not.
Well, I
he's
mean,
a really good running back. Also,
Hornibrook had negative 51, so
yeah, that really
yeah.
downs the average as a team in that game. But he's a really good running back, and
Yeah, he had
The
some
fact
nice
that-
breakaways too.
yeah, he was like you could tell when he wanted to plant his foot in the ground and get the yardage that he could. He was doing it like every time. Like he was basically what DJ Dallas is good at, and is what Cam is good at in that sense. That he knows where his original line of scrimmage is, and just plants his foot and takes the double hit, as opposed to trying to keep it out of bounds or keep it out or whatever. He's just planting his foot, getting his line of scrimmage back, not losing yards. But
I mean, the thing I want to know is this has nothing to do with Akers, but why do we just see Russo now, mid-season? Which we talked about this,
apparently,
but you
he
really
didn't-
you don't think he would have shown out the first 5 games?
I mean, he didn't start the first 4 games of the
First 4,
season,
right?
or the first 5, I think. He's only been starting for 4, or I don't know, but the season
He
being
missed
different
almost
now.
half the games
He's
of
been
the
starting
season.
for 5 games because as of last week we were 4-4. He had only started 4 games,
Okay.
and they said that over the offseason he wasn't where they wanted him to be in terms of development. Apparently, he was getting his weight worked out because he wasn't like a good weight because he came off an ACL surgery, and it was just like
And would they name him?
ACC Defensive Lineman of the Week.
Yeah.
He had 4 sacks, I think
which
he
is
only
low
had,
for him, actually.
5 tackles were lost, which are 4 are sacks, and 8 tackles total.
Because he had, 7 or 8 sacks on Pittsburgh?
Miami? No, he only had a couple. I think he had 2, maybe 3. But I don't remember. But when you, but I remember we were watching, and they're like, "Yeah, that's Greg Russo's 4th sack." I was like, because we were kind of like finishing up eating dinner and stuff. I was like, they just say that Greg Russo had 4 sacks, and we were after they went to commercial, we rewinded it because we thought Miami only had 4 sacks as a team, but no, Greg Russo had 4 sacks and played like a man with his hair on fire, and
Yeah,
that
he only
ultimately made everybody else better because they were moving Greg Russo into the less favorable position for a defensive end, which is on a guard. But Greg Russo was so good that he could play on a guard and give more defensive ends onto the field. They could get Trayon Hill and Jonathan Garvin and Greg Russo all on the field at the same time, combined with another D tackle. And I mean, Shaq had, I think, 3.5 tackles for loss by himself without having a sack. Like, this team played insane against the run. They were insane against the pass. I mean, they left Florida State with no choice but to hit underneath routes and short routes. Hence why Hornibrook, I think, was 17 for 24, which is a relatively high percentage. But I don't think any passes went over 10 yards.
He only hit 135 the whole game.
Yeah, like, he did not throw the ball deep at all. He cannot move out of the pocket.
He couldn't, though.
Which is why Miami's sack totals are so high. Because, like, Manny Diaz said this and was almost laughing as he said it. Like, this is the first time Miami's played a stationary quarterback that did not like to run, and it showed. Like, he could not move in the pocket. He did not run when things got tough. He stood in there, tried to make the throw like Jaren does, and it just came biting him in the butt every time because he was getting pummeled. There's specifically, like, one play I remember me and him were talking about before we started, where Miami has all 4 of their defensive linemen on top of Hornibrook, and all of FSU's linemen are laying on the ground. And it's like, that's just quintessential Miami for this game. Like,
But they
what
tried.
else?
They did like that. The O-line did that from FSU the first quarter or second quarter,
Yeah.
and it worked.
True.
But then they tried it again and expected Miami to fall for it again, and so they're all laying on the ground, and Miami just like steps over.
It's like it's all Miami's guys at the same time.
And it's like all
just
you can
do
eat
what you're
buffet.
supposed to do as a D lineman. You just step back, let it step to the side, and you just let them go right past you.
Yeah.
But you have to be wary as a D lineman to understand that that's coming.
Yeah.
And so, for all 4 of them to simultaneously get it and just right past them, they
It was
go.
good. It was good.
It is just poor.
It was funny.
It was just poor guy.
Yeah, poor
But
Willie.
He was just, man, it was rough for that quarterback.
Just
And then
makes
they brought in James Blackman at the end, and
Yeah,
it was
that
still
was-
no better.
was
He had
worse.
more mobility. He was just a worse quarterback.
Yeah.
I liked what I saw in terms of their offensive scheme. I really like Kendall Briles a lot. I said that last time, but it was just he was working with what he's got. I mean, if it wasn't for their gimmicky offense with the Wildcat and throwing it back to Hornibrook, getting Miami's defense, sprinting around, trying to compensate for the pass, while Hornibrook is already at the sideline and can, as soon as he touches the football, can go up. Like, it was very gimmicky, and they wound up getting a score off that drive. But then it was like Miami just said enough, and Miami just stopped it. And then the start of the 4th quarter, Jaren hits that deep bomb to Wiggins, and it was just their game was over.
Yeah.
So
what's the result of the game? What happened?
in terms of Florida State,
Yeah.
so Florida State discreetly and privately raises $17 million to buy out Willie Taggart in the rest of his contract.
In like a day. Half a day.
Yeah,
Half
it
a
was.
day.
Yeah, it was relatively a day. It was like around 3 Sunday, and
I beg you, go watch his post game.
is it really that laughable?
It's not laughable, but it's like the man is just like, it's sad.
Yeah.
He's just like, yeah, we just, in practice, we practice all these things.
Well, it's
and he's
like-
like, we get into the game and he's like, we're not doing anything that we've practiced. We're not doing anything that we've tried to fix. He said, we're doing the exact opposite of everything. And
Well-
then they'd ask another question, and he just repeated, yep, that had to do with that.
It's
And
like,
it's just bad.
as a Miami fan, I know what Florida State typically is as a culture and a team because, like, we play them every year. We've played Bobby Bowden every year when he was there. And it was hard to hate Bobby Bowden and his team because it was like good versus bad. Like, Florida State was the good team. They were sound. They were disciplined football. It was Miami, Florida State, so there was some chirpiness, but they kept to themselves and just tried to outplay you. And if they didn't, so be it. I mean, I guess the bad wins this time. And then, now it's like Bobby Bowden's not there. The culture he set is long gone. Anything he stood for is long gone from this football team. And this football team is exactly what Miami is. And it's like,
They're going through the same things.
but it's like that's always been Miami's MO. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? It's like I knew Florida State was always going to play this, not high and mighty, but it was like that's what it was, that they were going to just play football and shut up. And it's like you couldn't hate Florida State in terms of who they were. You just had to hate Florida State, the team, just in general.
Yeah, I mean, Bobby
Like-
Bowden had 34 years. His record was 304-97.
Like, that's incredible. Had 2 national championships.
Yeah.
Like, this is a joker that established a complete school-wide culture for every phase of their sports. Like, just the way Frank Beamer did it at Virginia Tech. This guy innovated Florida State with just being good people. And it was like, you couldn't hate Bobby Bowden. I said this to Justin when we were, my brother, when we were watching the game. I was like, say what you want about Florida State. I was like, but after the game, you couldn't hate Bobby Bowden at all. Like, he was just a nice guy. Like, oh, that's not Bobby Bowden I hate. It's just the Florida State team. Like, just their logo, I guess, is like what makes you mad.
You know, Bobby Bowden was a freshman at Alabama,
Yeah,
1948.
yeah. And then I think he
He
left.
went to Howard,
Yeah,
Alabama.
or it's Samford now.
Yeah. Quarterback,
So-
running back.
Mhm.
Born in Birmingham, Alabama.
He's been at Florida State for a long, long time. But it's
Must
like,
be an Alabama thing.
if you don't agree with what I'm saying, there's at least a very powerful person in college football that agrees with what I'm saying. I'd send it to you. It's Kirk Herbstreit. Did you watch it?
No, I haven't watched it.
So I should have got it, and I didn't even think about it to show you guys. But he sat in his bus, I guess, for college game day on Saturday after the game. He said, I don't want to talk about Florida State anymore for the rest of the season. He said all they care about is whining and complaining and running their mouth.
What?
I don't want to talk about them anymore. I hate the way they represent themselves. Their current roster needs to go back and watch the Bobby Bowden era because it wasn't about talking trash and fighting. That's all they do. That's all. They're the most undisciplined team you are going to watch, and they're the terrible team. They need to focus more on execution and less on chirping. We were saying about all the.
If that is not the exact same thing
But
that
we
I've
said
said.
this at the beginning of the season.
Like,
Oh, no, 2 games ago. You said that.
I feel like I may have.
About Miami posting on Instagram and not
Oh,
wanting
yeah.
to play. Yeah.
But it's like,
Culture.
I think Miami's getting to where that they need to be. But in terms of Florida State, it's like,
No, they're completely gone.
what does it mean?
Florida State?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
It was
they've
like,
completely gone away.
it's
from-
like, it's
from-
not like, it's like well, Miami's culture is always going to be the bad boys, the chip on your shoulder. You know, nobody likes us. Like, Florida State should always be that team that's like, we're just going to play honest, hard-working football, and we're going to line up and just try to be the better person on the football field. Because
Yeah.
that's what Bobby Bowden's culture was. It's not like Bobby Bowden is just some figurehead or figure in college football. Like, he's not some Bob Stoops at Oklahoma. Like, he is Nick Saban, Frank Beamer, Bobby Bowden, and Joe Paterno if he didn't have the scandal. It's like, these are the three coaches you look for if you are starting a program from the ground up. Like,
yeah, they're like legacy coaches. I mean,
these are they're not just good coaches. Like, these are great people. You could not hate Bobby Bowden
Joe Paterno is good people.
No, I said not him.
Okay, I just want
It's Nick
just messing
Saban,
with
it's Frank Beamer, and it's Bobby Bowden.
Nick Saban's one of those guys. He's gonna go down, obviously.
Yeah, and it's like they're just, you can't see them being mad at the other team the way that Miami, usually is. And this is coming from a Miami fan. It's really poor to see that this is what this game was. This was a complete shellacking. We beat the crap out of them. And it's like, well, that's good. It's like, well, then now it's sinking. It's Monday. And it's like, that was kind of awful as a Florida State-Miami game.
He's good, too.
In terms of, Ed Orgeron's a good up-and-coming
I forgot his name.
Coach. In terms of what this game, this specifically 2019 game meant in terms of the entire rivalry, it was really poor on Florida State's part because Florida State is now in the position that Miami was in.
Yeah.
When Florida State was, Miami is not necessarily good. Florida State was winning championships, and Miami had lost its identity. We were completely lost. We were not the same team.
Yeah.
We were trying to be somebody we weren't. And now Miami is kind of getting it back, and Florida State has now lost their complete sense of identity.
Yeah,
They're no longer any resemblance of the shell or the mold. Like, Florida State had a mold of team that you should beat. Like,
yeah, I mean, we could
Jimbo
say that
Fisher
about
even had it a little bit.
We could say that about every team. Each team has a specific characteristic, as
I know,
far
but this
as
was
college.
one guy that completely set the precedent for an entire school.
Yeah. But when you think of FSU now, it's like they're not the same school. They're not the same football team. Nothing's the same.
It's poor.
They might as well get new uniforms, new logos. It's a different school.
It's a shame. Like, it really is. That it's like I would only hope that Florida State fans said this when Miami was bad, because Miami's beaten you 3 years in a row. Two of the quarterbacks aren't even here anymore. One didn't even start the next year after he beat you guys, and now the same one who beat you last season in N'Kosi Perry doesn't even start now.
To be fair, though, Miami could easily be in the same situation this season.
True.
This season.
But I told you that whoever lost this game was going to have a terrible time as a team.
Like, we lose to Central, which Miami played Florida week 0. Now they're playing FSU.
I'm not even saying, like, what ifs in the beginning. I'm talking this game specifically.
I'm talking about just in total.
Yeah.
Miami's had a tough season.
You could play a
far
lot
as
of
Florida
what if scenarios
and
with
FSU.
Miami.
But they lose Pittsburgh. They lose Central Michigan. They lose FSU. Manny Diaz is gone.
He could very well be, yeah.
But it's like the last 3 games, Miami's found their culture, found their shell, found their whatever.
Yeah.
And Tyler actually has some notes on that. I don't know if you want to get into that, if you want to keep talking about
I want to wrap up Florida State because, I don't know, I guess it's the cherry on top or whatever.
So who's their coach now? Their O-line coach?
Their assistant defensive line coach, who is
D-line coach.
interned for them when Jimbo Fisher left.
Oh, yeah.
He's been there since, like,
He was there for a season?
He's been at Florida State since, like, 93, I think. He has been at Florida State for a really long time. And, what is his name? It's Odell something. And, so he's been there before, but, I mean, their offense is still poor. Like, they've got good players.
Odell Haggins?
Yes.
Haggins?
Haggins, yes. He has interned for them as head coach before.
17 and 19.
In terms of who they got, apparently there's a very serious rumor they're trying to interview Manny Diaz. I think that's stupid. I don't know why he would even do that. Apparently Lane Kiffin in Florida Atlantic has expressed interest in the job. I don't know if Lane Kiffin is the right one for them either. I mean, you need somebody who will reset your culture the way Manny Diaz seems to be doing at Miami. We're not in a good spot as a team.
I'm just saying,
but
it's just like some of the things we're saying since Miami beat FSU is like
Yeah.
some bold claims.
Yeah.
Like if you go 6 weeks ago on this podcast and listen to what we said,
Not even 6 weeks. If you go 2 weeks ago
night and day,
when we lose to Georgia Tech.
night and day difference of what we're saying right now.
But I've always maintained the sentiment that this was not Manny Diaz's problem. This was Miami's offensive problem.
You were a little wishy-washy. You were looking for some blame in a lot of different areas sometimes.
That's fair, I guess, but it was still like I said. Is it Manny? Probably not. Maybe not. But I very much held the sentiment this was not his fault. I never once said he should get fired.
Okay, I'm gonna go through all the podcasts.
I never once said he
I'm
was
gonna
he should
find
get
where He
fired.
said that Manny Diaz should get fired.
Never once.
He definitely said Dan should get fired. Like
Yeah,
almost every podcast.
I still agree with that.
But
Even though he had a good game, I still agree with that.
so you blame Willie for this? You think it's his fault?
Yeah, I mean, he had to allow this to happen. It's either that or this was Jimbo's undoing, and this is just his players. Like, somewhere along the way,
The sad thing is though, is like the recruiting class for FSU, it's just gonna get worse.
well, it's like Miami had this happen because Miami doesn't have a booster board that's like a typical college.
Miami's different though.
That's what I'm saying. Miami is that different where it could just be allowed to happen if you've got your culture who is just flat out busy. And it's like they're former players. Like they can't keep an eye on this school and make sure the school is doing well. Because quite frankly, I don't know if the school cares all too much what Michael Irvin thinks. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Whereas
They
Florida
care
State,
about their doctors. Like Miami's a
Florida
doctor
State
school.
very much cares what their booster club has to say about the coach.
Well, yeah.
Well, because obviously they raised the money.
$17 million.
Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, there's all these teams around the country.
It's political.
Georgia
When you-
fired Mark Richt. Like, they came to Mark Richt. This is the rumor that they told Mark Richt, we would like you to take a step back and hire a coach that's young, groom him, and he'll take it over.
And he said no.
Yes, and then they said, okay, well, we want you to start this quarterback. Mark Richt said no. So they told him, okay, it's probably best we switch guys. And that's the same thing that happened at Miami, where Miami felt the pressure from the fans, and they finally said, Mark, can you hire an offensive coordinator? He said, no, I'll retire. It's like, well, okay. Well, guess that works too. But
So I was in a gym from the office.
but
Uh,
it's
what
I
was
don't
saying?
think
It's different though. It's political when you have schools that have that much
Yeah.
money, as much as FSU does.
yeah.
Which we do need to cover that NCAA passed, which we'll get
Yeah.
into that probably
Probably next time.
Thursday. But so you're for Willie Taggart leaving.
Yeah.
Odell's going to take over. You
But I'm
think that
only for Willie leaving. If you could find somebody that follows into your footsteps as a team.
That's
I mean,
hard though. Like
Yeah.
you're trying to replace 34 years of culture and legacy, and
True.
it's just hard.
All
to be
wrapped
honest.
up in one guy.
Yeah. You don't get those. You don't get Nick Sabans every day. You know.
It's true, but you can get guys that know the culture from
Yeah, like
Being
Manny
there.
Diaz.
Mark Stoops was a defensive coordinator at Florida State and is now the head coach. I heard you, the head coach at Kentucky. It's transitioning into what this means for Miami moving forward.
What Willie Taggart being fired means for Miami?
No, but in
Oh.
terms of just what this game means for Miami.
Well, it
moving
means
forward.
everything. Did you see the smile on Jaron and Manny Diaz's face at the end of the game?
That's why I'm like slowly starting to believe in this team again, because it's like I feel like we've found something.
You see, like Jaron bringing his father Manny Diaz the game ball, and,
Yeah.
and Manny's like so excited, like a little kid.
I mean,
and-
I said this game had to be a turning point in the season. It's not even the season, but just for the team. Because if we lose Florida State, I can see this team going downhill drastically.
to be fair, Pittsburgh was the turning point.
Yes, because apparently before Pittsburgh, Miami's players held a like players only meeting,
Which I didn't know.
but they held apparently the coaches were there, and Dallas said this in his press conference after the game that they basically said that to the coaches that we want to have the players be in control of the other players in terms of responsibilities. Like we want to be the leaders. Tell the leader of the team, the main problems that something is going on. Like if the group isn't cohesive or whatever,
Right.
tell a leader, and then like what usually has happened at Miami.
Like team
Like,
captains.
Yeah, like Miami in 01 apparently didn't even really listen to their coaches. They just knew what they needed to do to win a championship.
That's fair.
And I mean, that's what they all say, all of them on documentaries and everything. So Miami's getting back to that kind of old school mentality, I guess, in that respect. But you can't say that it hasn't paid extreme dividends in both of these games. I mean, Miami's defense played outstanding against Pitt. Miami's offense was a little lackluster until Jaren came in. And DJ Dallas said specifically he told Jaren Williams he needs to step up and play as a leader. And if that's the case, Saturday definitely showed that this was a completely different Jaren Williams that we've seen throughout the season, regardless of rumors or anything. This is a guy that threw a bomb and pulled the bow back like he was playing NBA 2K. Like, we haven't seen this side of the team where it feels like they're genuinely having fun playing football. It feels like the defense only gets that right because the defense is who they are. But now,
Yeah, I see that because the defense is good.
yeah,
You know, the
And-
offense hasn't got to reap the benefits of being good. You know,
it feels like after that players only meeting, it feels like the offense finally gets in groove with the defense.
so did that happen before the game at Pittsburgh?
Apparently, yes.
Did you listen to Manny Diaz's press conference?
Today,
Yeah.
yes,
Did you hear his post game
yes,
where he was talking about how when the players were at the hotel, he said they had a different demeanor about them.
yeah.
He said on the field they had a different demeanor about
'Cause
them.
he
They
said
were a
that,
different team.
Said that it may have been the post game or the one today. Said that Jaren was just calm, or I think it was Enos or somebody said that Jaren was just calm and laser focused throughout the game. He said up until he threw that deep pass to Wiggins, he said he never really
Pro
changed.
character.
Yeah, like he was just, Peyton
Focused.
Manning, like just in the sense that, well, okay, you took that to the other end, but Peyton Manning always has just this
No, I
You
know.
know,
His
blank-
focus, yeah.
blank facade
He's in the
until
game.
the game is essentially won, and then it's just
He can relax.
it's now fun.
Yeah.
I've already done all the fun part, but apparently now I'm gonna have fun, like
Yeah.
which is almost what you
sense.
need right at this part of the season, because it feels like the culture that Manny's been talking about all season is starting to finally get a grip on all the players.
Yeah.
Because it's like, because it feels like Manny was lying the whole time. Like, we're trying to change the culture, and it's like, well, why? And it's like, well, now you see why. Because it's paying dividends. These players need to know they need to be held accountable in today's game of football. Like, you can't just come off the field and not know what you just did. In terms of that is what, like, everybody wonders why Bo Nix is so valuable to Auburn. And it's like, I guarantee you, it's because Bo Nix gets to come off the football field and Gus Malzahn says, what happened on that drive? And I guarantee you, Bo Nix, from his memory, could probably tell you what happened on the drive. Because that's just been ingrained in him because his dad was an offensive coordinator
We don't
in
have to talk about Bo
in
Nix.
college. But what I'm saying is, like, that is somebody that is, quite frankly, doesn't have much talent, and it's showing because he only has like 50% completion on the season, but is proving that to a school that he is absolutely invaluable to them for some reason. And it's like that has to be the reason, is that today's game requires you to be responsible all the time for what you're doing and know exactly why you're doing it and when to do it. And it feels like that's what Miami's kind of getting a hold of. It's either that or
It's
it's
a
just
little
pure.
late.
It's either that or it's just pure luck.
It's a little late, though.
That's what Manny said. He said he would like for this to happen in August. He said, but if it happened in August, you wouldn't need coaches.
I guarantee losing to the Gators hurt them.
Yeah. So it's
That,
just
that made it rough, too. But I definitely see Miami finishing out 8-4. If they continue this, 8-4.
well. I'm not saying that Miami will end up undefeated. I'm saying that Miami as a team seems to be all in on what they're doing on a day-to-day basis.
So, is there still a chance for bowl?
Yes, because we only have 4 losses. We have to have basically, if you have 6 wins, you get invited to a bowl. So there's still a slim chance that we even still make the Coastal if like all these things work out perfectly. Like this team has to beat,
Yeah,
like Georgia
yeah,
Tech has
yeah,
to
I
beat
know.
Duke. Duke has to beat this team.
Yeah.
Like, they all can't just lose. They have to lose to the right team.
So what's the chance Miami plays Clemson?
I don't even think I want to play Clemson, but
What?
I don't think I do at this point.
That would be the real test. Miami's doing good now. Miami finishes strong, 8-4. Let them play Clemson. That's the real test.
Yeah.
I mean, which Clemson's not as good as they were last
But
year.
I think the surgence we're seeing from the offense lately, though, is due to the O-line and how good they are. Because throughout the season, the first game we played Florida, we had 10 sacks. I said, no team in history has had over 10 sacks in a game and has won more than 9 games. Miami physically cannot win more than 9 games.
Right.
They can win exactly 9 if they play the bowl game and they win the bowl
Right.
game.
Right.
Or if they make it to the conference championship and they beat Clemson, I guess they could go 10 wins.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but Miami basically physically cannot win more than 9 games this season. So that stat holds up. But
That's true.
Miami gives up 10 against Florida, 4 against UNC, Bethune, I didn't even count, 4 against Central Michigan. Let me pull it up just to make sure. 7 against Virginia Tech, 3 against Virginia, 3 against Georgia Tech, 2 against Pitt, and 2 against FSU. It's
That's good.
that is a 4-4-7 and then 3-3-2-2. Like, insane numbers. And that's even with different quarterbacks at the helm that are, quite frankly, one of them was worse at staying in the pocket and, not keeping his eyes downfield to throw the ball somewhere. So, on that same note, how well the offense has improved as in terms of the offensive line, the defense has improved drastically since Manny Diaz has increased his role, whatever he decides, whatever that actually is, because Miami has allowed 9 points against Virginia since Manny took over, 9 points against Virginia, 7 in regular time to Georgia Tech, 12 against Pitt, and 10 against FSU. So in 2 games since Manny Diaz has taken over, we've not even given up a touchdown. We've given up 7 field goals in those games. But, I mean, that shows, especially in the Pitt game, that field goals don't win you nothing. Because they have 12 points in field goals, and Miami still comes down to the end and puts a touchdown on the board and beats them. And so
That's true.
the defense proves that they are absolutely valuable, as much as the offensive line is also proving that they are extremely valuable now, and that they are picking up on the blitzes and maybe not doing so well in one-on-ones, which would prove why the run game is so bad. But this team is improving, and it's like, is this just the natural course of the season, or are people buying in to what Manny has to say? And I would like for it to be the last part really bad. And I almost think that that's exactly what it is. Or do you just think this is pure luck? Do you think this is Manny coming into the defense?
No, I don't think it's pure luck. Manny's coming into the defense. Manny's running the defensive show. But offense, I don't know who would give credit. Honestly.
I mean, I'm not too hot on Butch Berry, who's the offensive line coach, but somebody's doing something right.
Yeah, and I guess if there was a way to measure progress, which is
Especially where Miami
impossible.
is at now.
But that's what I mean. Measure the progress that the O-line has made. We're talking of hundreds of % increase.
Yeah.
In progress. But there's no way to track that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can kind of, but FSU, the O-line. Wow.
But still, Miami had 9 sacks. Like, that is not easy. Like,
Well, I mean, Florida made it look easy.
I know, but Florida has an actual decent
I'm kidding.
defensive line.
I'm kidding.
But it's like, what people don't realize is like, well, that's just the defense giving you the sacks. And it's like, the defensive line is the only people that get the sacks. But it's like, Miami has to play excellent coverage in order for them to get back rushing 6 people on blitzes. It's like DJ Ivy, Al Blades, and Trajan Bandy, and the 2 safeties in the back, whichever combo they decide to run with,
I guess
are
it's
doing
best to
really
say-
well.
It's best to say it like this. For the Miami team, the Miami defensive team that we've seen this season, to get 9 sacks, miracle.
I would say so, but it's not that out of the question if you take out Greg Rousseau's 4. Like, that would mean 5 sacks in a game.
which is still incredible for.
Yeah. It's like, that's not too out of the question for my.
And
I
you
think,
say almost 10 because are you talking about number 55 or 56?
no, I
When he
said
almost kills the quarterback.
no. I said
he
9
did.
sacks because Miami had 9 sacks and they end up making Florida State sack their head coach.
But I mean, that's terrible. That's so
That
terrible.
was a meme I seen, so I'm gonna
No,
roll with that one.
was it Quarterman?
I think it was
55 or 56. I can't. I get them mixed up. But I think it was Hornibrook coming back to pass, and he gets the pass off right as he's about to get destroyed.
oh Justin Blackman did at the end of the game.
Oh, that might have been him.
It
It was like a pass to the
there was a
sideline.
couple. There was a lot of instances like that.
Yeah.
It's like after he realized he was getting sacked, they were just telling him just to throw it, get it out of there.
Yeah.
But I think what Miami really needs for this season, the ultimate win for the season, would to be able to make sure that DJ Dallas, Trajan Bandy, your juniors of the team stay, and they continue that the juniors that are your leaders
and not
continue
get hurt celebrating.
to stay. Well, that's just unfortunate.
That was dumb.
Well, I mean, they do that all the time and nobody gets hurt.
Well-
It happens one time and now it's dumb.
Well, I mean,
It is dumb in hindsight, but it's like you can't plan for that.
you can't plan for that. Write that down. Write that down, folks. You can't plan for that.
Miami needs their juniors to stay and continue being leaders because if they leave, there is a kind of gap in terms that these guys that will be the leaders are redshirt freshmen, like or true freshmen that will be your leaders, and it's like
I think they have
Are
the
they-
best chance to stay, though. It benefits them the most because
that's what I'm saying. It would benefit you as a
draft pick. Yeah.
player, other than maybe DJ Dallas, I would say almost every one of your players would absolutely benefit from staying and proving that you are a leader. You're capable of being a leader. You can make your team better. You know how to lead people. You know,
don't know.
things like that.
If I'm DJ Dallas, I'm probably leaving.
I don't know if Dallas has it in him. If Dallas is anybody else on the team, I would say he's leaving.
But like, if next season doesn't happen the way the end of this season does, he could ruin
I don't
his
know.
career.
That's the big risk you take. Which
That's the scary thing with
that's
this
what-
season is like some of these guys have ruined their careers.
I would say is if Shaq and Pickney had not stayed, I would probably say more guys leave this season. But
That's
these
fair.
guys showed that you could stay, lead your team, regardless of what the record is.
And get
But you
picked
can
round
still
15.
make yourself look better in the sense that you stay. I didn't even hear what you said. I don't even want to hear what you said.
I said and get picked like round 15.
Oh, whatever. You could stay and show that you are a leader, and that would add to your case that you stayed, you made your team better. Because I'm just going to say, in my opinion, there's a shift with the players in the sense that in the right direction. Anyway, whether it's they're believing in the culture, whatever, something has happened within the program in the last couple weeks that we are shifting as a program into a new direction that ultimately looks like it's more favorable,
Yeah, like
regardless
old
of the
school.
way the season ends.
Old school Miami, they seem like they're an actual team.
Yeah, true.
I'm
So-
down with that.
And I also think that all coincides with the, there's no QB controversy now for the rest of the season. It's definitely,
Posey's out, right?
yeah, it's definitely Jaron. Jaron's earned it. They said Jaron was a leader this week.
I still like to see Tate.
I think I would too, but I think he's better for the offense in terms of yards and scoring. But get what you can get.
You get what you get. Write that down.
Players and the rest of the team seem to be buying into this coaching staff.
Yeah, read some of your notes to us.
This game needs to be a turning point for the team. I think it did. Manny said in his press conference it was the best week of practice they've ever had. While I agreed that we are not in a good spot, something about the way this team is performing now leaves me with a lot of hope. I'm not saying we'll win out the rest of the season, but I think we're in the right direction.
I think Miami wins the rest of the season.
That's what I'm saying. I think we could win the rest of the season, but I think regardless,
Yeah, Louisville's next, and
Louisville,
then
FIU,
Florida International, and then Duke will be a good game.
Duke.
Duke will be a good.
Louisville's
game. I mean,
a really good team. I
Duke's-
wouldn't do not sleep on Louisville.
Duke seems to be getting. Yeah, Louisville's been doing really well.
Yeah.
But Duke seems to be getting worse.
it's just what to put the cherry on top of what Miami needs to be doing moving forward, or what it means, is that I guess I'm a believer now. Like in terms of what Manny Diaz is saying,
Well,
maybe
I mean, no, I'm not.
you're not.
No,
You're not sold.
no. I just something about him. I don't know. With the players having the meeting and saying that they want to be in charge, they want to be responsible. They're obviously seeing something with their coaches that they don't like.
Could that be the offensive side though?
No,
You don't think so?
because the defense was amazing. 9 sacks.
That's what I'm saying. Do you think the offense was the side that wasn't buying in?
I don't know.
I mean, how do you buy into an offense that was having that kind of yardage, regardless of the play style or anything?
I don't know.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. You're playing essentially like Miami is making these defenses play now, where you're settling for field goals and you're missing them on top of that. Like, you're having to settle for field goals. You're terrible in the red zone. You're terrible on third down.
Yeah.
And you're missing the field goals on top of that. And it's like, how do you get behind that offense? And it's like, well, maybe something just – everybody's just like, why don't we just get behind it and see what happens fully? Like, and it's like, I feel like that might be what's happening, is that maybe they're not buying into maybe the coaches, but I think they're buying into Manny Diaz as a figure. I mean, I'm willing to say it. I'm willing to be wrong about it, too.
I mean, I wouldn't care to be wrong about it. I just maybe next season, we'll see more Manny. I just haven't seen enough of him. He's too much of a politician for me. Like, he says the right words. He knows the words to say, even when Miami's lost. He still has that politician
To
side
his
him.
credit, he's always maintained the sentiment that it has been a culture problem at Miami.
Along
Which
with the
that
QB
part,
problem.
that was very much true. He said it was a culture problem. I just think he
And Kosi
refuses.
gives us the best chance to win. Sorry, scratch that. Jaron gives us the best chance to win. No, wait. Kosi gives us the best chance to win.
Well, when Jaron it shows up in his MIA that week, I mean, what else are you supposed to say?
So, yeah, he's MIA, and then now look at him.
I said that last Friday.
This is like the most schizophrenic team I've ever seen.
Like, I'm not all that thrilled that Jaron is our quarterback, but here we are, and we are actually playing well.
Oh, yeah, because you're the Martel
Like, no,
cartel.
I'm just saying I'm not thrilled that he's our quarterback because he has apparently tried to transfer. Not apparently. He did try to transfer at December, and now he's been our quarterback, and he's just MIA, and it's like, I think we're all willing as Miami fans to just we'll call our season a start from after the Georgia Tech game. Like, everything Georgia Tech and forward we'll forget completely as Miami fan base. If you went out the rest of this season and show that these players are buying into what you're saying and that what you're saying actually means, 2 cents. It's worth 2 cents
fair.
of anything.
That's fair.
Because I would be willing to do that. I mean, I've done that enough in Miami, in my fan base, as a
Yeah.
fan time as a Miami fan.
Miami fans don't have any more shame. You
it's just-
you ran out of shame.
That's what you've got to be as a Miami fan. Like, you have to hope that what his culture is actually right. It seems to be at the moment. But I also said that about Al Golden. It's like, Manny knows he's seen what it takes, at least. It's like, so that's got to be worth something at the end of the day. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying. I have my doubts.
I would continue to have doubts about this team because, in terms of results,
I mean, I don't have doubts about the team. I have doubts about the coaching.
yeah.
I trust the team. I don't trust the coaches.
And the only reason we won't win games is because we won't score enough points as an offense. And that seems like a given. But
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It seems like the offense has been self-defeating most of this season, but.
dead last and third downs.
And I mean, Miami's had to deal with shame. They could lose by 60 points and still be ready to fight you in the parking lot. That's just who Miami is. So. But yeah, I mean, next season we'll see what Manny says. We'll see what he does. He's a politician. I don't like politicians.
I mean,
Can you blame me?
no. I mean, I think I understand what you're saying. And
He might be.
because I don't think you're as inside the program or whatever as I try to be. And I think as an outsider,
I try to look at it from the outside. Yeah.
as it's no different if you were a fan of
Yeah.
Because it's like, Manny's saying that he's our guy, then you swap the quarterbacks. It's like, but then when you really get inside the program and listen what they're saying, it's like, well, Jaron wasn't here, there, Cozy's not doing this, offensive line ain't doing that.
True.
And it's like now it seems like it's all like just shut up and we're all slowly getting back together and forming into something that
But I think the players did that. I don't think Manny's responsible for that, to be honest.
I think the players may have done it in order to fall in with Manny said. I understand what you're saying.
Oh, I get what you mean. You think so? DJ Dallas is sitting in Manny's office, and Manny's like, "Man, I need you to, this is what I want. This is what I want." No, but not everybody's like that. Some coaches are headstrong, and they're like, "You're gonna bend to my will,"
No, Manny's not like that.
Like I watch the Gators and I watch Dan Mullen, and I'm like, "There's something about that guy that I just like." He doesn't seem like a head coach, but
That's fair.
So you probably see that too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It's like, guess we'll see with what happens with the rest of the season.
I guess I'll just say the same thing like I always said. I see Manny Diaz as more as a defensive coordinator than I do a head coach.
I think it's too early for me to tell.
He's a good CEO or defensive coordinator, but as head coach,
That's like he struck out an offensive coordinator, and you need that offensive coordinator if you're going to be who you are at that age. He's not 60 or 70. He cannot say.
maybe Manny's gonna be the athletic director.
It's like,
Dun 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 dun.
you needed to nail the offensive coordinator hire. You didn't, and now you're being called into question by, people that's like that are the outsiders in the terms of that they don't know the ins and outs of the program. It's like you didn't nail the offense, so therefore you look like a bit of a fraud when you say things and it doesn't happen.
No, I don't mean it like that. I just don't think Manny's head coach material. I guess it shows that. I see him as CEO, as athletic director, whatever, Just him with the offense, for me, doesn't mix. The whole Manny Diaz and Dan Enos offense just doesn't mix well for me.
I think you paired Manny Diaz up with a guy who is offensive. He can be an offensive coach, not necessarily a offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
As a former player.
Yeah.
And therefore has more affirmation in what it means.
Yeah.
Because you can't just have Jeremy Shockey, Michael Irvin come in and say Manny knows what he's talking about when it's like
Does he?
need a guy every day that's like listen to your coach, he knows exactly what he's talking about. Or you can have Lamar Thomas's or Avery whatever that tells Manny exactly what it is, and then he can just spew it out of his mouth like it's his anyway.
Yeah.
Like you need something that's there for affirmation.
Yeah.
That knows exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Because Manny knows no more about Miami's 80s team than I do, in the sense that I wasn't in that locker room or with them at practice. Manny was not there with them at practice in the 80s or whatever. Like he didn't play football no more than I did. So, you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, but I think it's but he was there.
That's what I'm saying.
He was actually alive.
Yeah.
So when you go to the stadium, you get that vibe. When you watch the press conferences, you get that vibe. You hear what they're saying. You hear what the players are saying. Well, I mean, you had to read the paper because there was no internet, but I agree. Miami needs a new offensive coordinator so that Manny doesn't have to worry about offense as much, so that he could be a culture CEO kind of guy. Like, who is the other guy we always talk about? Is it Mark Richt? No. Mac Brown. Yeah. UNC. He's the same way. He's like grandpa. Comes in, takes care of the boys, takes care of culture, lets his OC, DC do their things.
He's strictly just the John Madden.
Yeah.
Just keep your team motivated, keep their spirits up, and make sure their boss is not me, Mac Brown. Their boss is their respective coaches and their their side of the ball overseer.
Yeah, but I think Manny's having to correct and punish and do all these things and
a little bit on defense coordinator in the sense that he is over aggressive all the time.
right.
You dial him back in. It's like now the defense is perfect.
Yeah.
Now the offense, and it's like I think.
So you think Manny can take his reins off
Of the defense?
of Blake,
Yeah, I think a little bit.
and that frees him up to worry about culture.
It depends on
That's true.
So, because I've always said if I was Manny, I would just give him my old playbook and say, call these plays, and try not to do the blitzes as much.
Yeah.
It's like because Blake Baker is 36, so just don't destroy it and degrade it. Just he's going this way, just tiny bit that way. No, like just little corrections,
Like a head coach would do.
yeah. And so now it's offense. I think with Enos being a head coach normally, maybe he's a little headstrong, and it's like you cannot just change it the whole thing.
Yeah, he's stuck in his ways, and he's like, I'm doing this. He's got that. He's trying to be Nick Saban, and he's not.
And it's like I think
Maybe DJ Dallas is calling the plays now.
I think he just struck out on offense coordinator.
Did you just say stroke out? My gosh.
Slur my words now. I think you just gotta just made up on the fact that you just struck out an OC. Hopefully you just get rid of him and bring in somebody knows how to coach offense, and then go from there.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
At the end of the day, this offense just is what it is. It does not utilize Miami's speed all that well, even though we played well at Florida State.
All right, we're getting into scheme.
It still wasn't there.
Let's stay away from scheme.
Yeah.
We're getting back into scheme. Oh
We
boy.
listened to the whole podcast without really saying it.
Yeah, don't say it.
So,
But I agree. I agree with Tyler, and I disagree always. I think the rest of the season is going to be quite boring because I think Miami's gotten the bag now. Just keep doing what you're doing. Make your little improvements, your little adjustments here and there, and just, don't put it on cruise control, but just blaze,
well, it's like Manny said too today. It was like he told players, here's why you're drinking this smoothie today. It does this. Here's the why. Here's the how. Here's the when. All this stuff. And it's like I feel like they're all finally starting to click. Like this actually is meaningful stuff. Like not just like the shakes.
So you think they're trusting the?
Just everything as a whole. Like Manny always says, we always have the why, but we don't have the how.
So you think they're trusting his formula now?
So I think they're finally getting it. Like we need to. Wednesday has to be our best practice. It cannot be our worst practice as it usually is. Which is what we said happened this week against Florida State.
So you take Jaron not showing up as like, I don't really believe in this. I'm like, I'm kind of done with it. But they have the player meeting, and it's like, we need to get behind Manny Diaz. Listen to what he's saying. Trust the formula. Trust the play calling.
Because we could be in the same spot Florida State is right now. Where
I
they
said
are
that.
completely lost
I said that.
in space. Like,
That's a quote unquote Andrew Mullins quote.
what'd you say?
That Miami could be in the same spot.
Yeah, Miami could very well have a ton of people raising money to try to fire their head coach if we had lost to Florida State.
Well, not a ton of money, but
They had enough foreign players and stuff. They could have raised some. He's not worth a ton of money in his contract anyway.
yeah. Ed Reed did look good at the Ravens game. We did see that last night. If you guys caught that, with his old school Miami jacket, it was pretty sweet. I'm not a Miami fan, but they need to bring back the old school logo,
Yeah, for sure.
like the Sebastian logo. Yeah, with the pipe and everything.
It's better than the 2000s one that we had.
Yeah, it's just. I know it's Miami, and you got a lot of druggies, but Sebastian looks like he's on crack or something.
That's what I was gonna say. It's like not about that, but what I was thinking is that Miami went into Tallahassee, fed off the negative energy and all that stuff, and used it to play better.
Yeah,
And it's like that's what Miami does. They feed off the adversity. They feed off the chip on their shoulder, where everybody on game day but one person said they were gonna lose.
yeah.
And it's like, the Vegas had them predicting to lose, and it's like that finally came.
Well, that happened in Pittsburgh too,
True. And
because Tyler was shocked that I said that Miami's going to beat Pittsburgh. See, he doesn't remember anything. He just he's too worried about. I'm not going to say it.
I think it's very important, actually. But it's like Miami's finally feeding off the adversity. It's like
They got out of home, they got into away games, and it's like,
I guess what ultimately it's like, what does this mean now? Like we know we've wrote it down and we've kind of basically they bracket it off. Like Miami is in either one of two spots. It's either luck or they are getting it. And it's like, well, then it's like, well, if they get it, is this real getting it, or is this like a fake thing that just so happens to be
That's the hard part for me is because you can't really.
tell that?
I don't think FSU is the real test. Pittsburgh was the real test. I think Miami's offense played better past weekend against FSU offensively.
Yeah, I'm not saying Florida State mattered. I'm saying in terms of how the team performed in that game.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as far as tracking progress, they showed a lot more against Pittsburgh. FSU, we can't really tell, but if we saw a bowl game, Miami Clemson, you could really track the progress. I feel like,
Or like even like a bigger.
or Miami can play UNC again, since they're a completely different team now.
UNC's completely different too. They're awful now.
Well,
But
Yeah.
Like, I think if you get Miami in a bowl game with like maybe I don't even know who would be like on their level, like in Iowa.
I think Florida's back to their level again.
Florida's been.
Whoa,
I don't know.
whoa!
Florida's defense has not been great.
This is not a Florida podcast. You cannot dog them here.
You're fired.
All right, show's over, folks.
But it's I guess we're just have to wait and see. I mean, we'll have a better idea with what they wind up saying in their midweek conferences and with Miami.
Yeah, and we'll see Louisville. Louisville's going to tell us a lot too. 'Cause
Does this work ethic stick throughout the practice week?
that's the point. Do they
That's the point
continue?
I'm trying to make, so
Do they continue on?
true. So
As
this
always,
is a rather lengthy discussion. So this has been me.
it was easy to talk about though.
Yeah. We literally went off like the last like 30 minutes without any notes. So it was just very easy to talk about where Miami's at and where I want them to be and hope that correlates in the end.
Yeah. I mean, there's variables. We just need to make sure the variables are,
I mean,
constants.
yeah. I mean, I can live with 8-4. That's what winds up happening.
I'd like to see Jeff Thomas destroyed against Louisville.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like all of our better players are coming in their own. Like, they're getting better. Like, they're not just, they don't look like the shells of their former selves anymore. Like, they look like they're coming in to their own, like, performing better, like what they used to be a couple seasons ago or whatever. So,
Yeah, this season alone, Pittsburgh on, completely different Miami team.
yeah. But they
It's
played,
just that.
They played Pitt right after Georgia Tech, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah, I would say after Georgia Tech, you call that game, you call that season. Everything before Georgia Tech, you call that trash. Like, you just say, we don't even talk about that. We don't talk about Fight Club. So,
I mean, we talk about Miami, Florida for sure, but
true. So, if you guys enjoyed, leave a like if you agree or disagree. Do you think Miami is just getting in pure luck? Let me know.
yeah, I mean FSU was trash, but
Yeah.
we'll let them have it.
I feel like the FSU stuff we said was pretty true, but whatever.
Wait.
Miami, Florida State.
You gotta do it backwards.
We kicked the crap out of them. We went into Tallahassee. We went into Doak Campbell Stadium. We beat them 27-10. We sacked them 9 times.
Plus
Aaron
one.
Williams showed us he could actually be our quarterback.
What if Miami paid?
Miami does not have that money.
Miami raised the money to fire Willie so they could just boast about it.
Miami would have the money to save Willie if they could for that game. But Miami finally did. It showed who they can be for the rest of the season. So
Let's keep it up. Let's just don't get your hopes up. Count Miami's the underdog, and they'll continue to. But if they think they're above, then they're just gonna.
So
If Miami thinks they're gonna win, then they're gonna lose. But
follow me on Twitter at Tyler's Corner.
send them DMs like crazy.
Yeah, actually, if you agree, let me know. I really would
No,
like
if you
to know
disagree,
people
send him.
as the fan base agree with what I'm saying, or if they just think it's a fluke and we just happen to get lucky or whatever.
Yeah, because we posted a lot of tinfoil hat theories. So
Definitely got my armadillo hat on right now. So, thank you guys for watching. We'll see
you
guys.
said some stuff this podcast that I can't
You
even.
got an armadillo hat?
Go ahead and say it. Finish it out. And as always,
If you enjoyed, leave a like. We'll see you guys on Thursday night talking about the Louisville game. It'll be senior night. Really excited for that. Really wish I could go to the game. But, yeah, this has been me. Follow me on Twitter, Tyler's Corner again. And we will see you guys.
this has been me.
This has been me.
This has been us.
You don't agree with me. You don't get to be included. This has been me and Andrew.
My
We will
gosh,
see you
this
guys
is
on
like.
Thursday.
And as always,
Oh,
I'm not saying it.
Always go Canes. Even when we lost to Georgia Tech, whatever. It's always go.
Even when they lost to Florida.